There is a poison that corrodes the soul, a spiritual cancer that destroys from within. It's called envy. It turns friends into rivals, blessings into burdens, and peace into turmoil. As the scripture warns, for where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. Now, from Alander Pulliam, acclaimed author of Tame the Tongue, The Hidden Enemy, and Jump Without Clues and Fall Without Mercy, comes a profound exploration of this destructive force. Story of Envy. This is not just another book. This is your guide to recognizing envy's subtle attacks, understanding its spiritual roots, and breaking free from its destructive grip. Discover the path to contentment, peace, and spiritual freedom. Story of Envy by Alander Pulliam. Available now. Your journey to liberation begins today. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. James 3:16. Welcome to Chapter 1 of Story of Envy by Alander Pulliam. In this chapter, we explore the unseen currents that flow beneath the surface of human relationships, the internal battles waged in the quiet chambers of the heart. The ancient wisdom of James speaks of envy and selfish ambition as forces that create disorder. And today we'll see this truth unfold in a modern parable. There once was a man named Daniel who had a long-standing friendship with a man named Mark. Over the years, Daniel and Mark shared countless experiences, supporting each other through hardships, celebrating successes, and building a bond rooted in loyalty and trust. Daniel valued Mark deeply and considered him a true friend. One day, a new person arrived in their circle, another man named Luke. Daniel and Luke quickly became friends, sharing stories, laughter, and common interests. Daniel was genuinely excited about this new friendship and started to spend more time with Luke, growing closer as friends. But Mark, who had been Daniel's closest confidant for a long time, began to notice this shift. Instead of feeling secure or happy for his friend, Mark started to feel a strange discomfort deep within. He saw how Daniel and Luke interacted, how Luke was gaining Daniel's attention and affection. And suddenly, a small seed of jealousy was planted in Mark's heart. Rather than trusting the friendship or seeking understanding, Mark allowed that seed to grow and fester. His jealousy turned into hate. He began to tell lies about Luke, exaggerating, twisting stories, and sowing suspicion among their friends. Mark's words created distrust, and the bonds of genuine friendship started to unravel. Jealousy and hate weren't the only things driving Mark. Deep inside, there was an urge to control, to manipulate the situation so that his own significance remained unchallenged. He sought to establish an evil system, spreading discord, fueling division, and trying to destroy Luke's reputation so that he could feel powerful, superior, and secure in his own long-standing relationship with Daniel. Mark's actions weren't just about envy. They were about establishing a dark system rooted in insecurity, pride, and a desire to dominate. His motives were driven by inner chaos, bitterness, anger, and a hunger to be the one who held influence over Daniel's heart and life. His poison began to spread. The lies, the gossip, the division, all of it was an attempt to fulfill what was missing inside him, a sense of control, importance, and power. Instead of trusting God's plan for relationships, Mark sought to manipulate and dominate, creating chaos where there was peace. In time, Daniel saw through Mark's schemes. He recognized the bitterness and hatred that had taken root in his former friend's heart. Rather than retaliate or continue in division, Daniel chose forgiveness and discernment. He saw that Mark's actions stemmed from inner turmoil and that the real battle was within Mark himself. This story reminds us that jealousy, hate, and lies, when allowed to take root, can destroy even the strongest bonds. They often come from a deep place of insecurity and a desire to control. It's a warning to examine our own hearts, to guard against these destructive currents, and to choose humility, love, and truth instead of chaos and division. This ancient wisdom from James speaks to us across the centuries. The Greek word for envy, thonos, describes that painful resentment we feel when others have what we desire, and selfish ambition, erytheia, points to that contentious rivalry that puts self above others. When these twin forces take root, they inevitably produce disorder, akatharsia, the very impurity and chaos we saw in Mark's heart. But here is the hope. Christ offers us a different way. His power can redirect our desires and transform our hearts. Where envy seeks to tear down, Christ builds up. Where selfish ambition demands control, Christ offers surrender. Where disorder reigns, Christ brings peace. May we examine our hearts today, bringing our envy and ambition to the cross, and allowing Christ to create in us clean hearts, hearts capable of genuine love, true friendship, and lasting peace. Chapter 2. The Gardener's Discernment. Beware of scoundrels, for they devise evil, and they may ruin your reputation forever. Receive strangers into your home, and they will stir up trouble for you, and will make you a stranger to your own family. These ancient words speak to the heart of discernment, that careful weighing of character and motive that protects us from the destructive passions of others, and indeed from our own. For envy and ambition often disguise themselves as righteous concern, and only patient wisdom can reveal their true nature. Once in a quiet village, there was a wise gardener named Eli, known throughout the land for his patience, discernment, and deep understanding of nature. His orchard stretched for miles, filled with fruit trees and flowering bushes, each carefully tended according to the seasons and the needs of the land. One year, a young apprentice named Amos came to work with Eli. Amos was eager and ambitious, wanting quick results and immediate success. He watched the gardener carefully, eager to learn his secrets and his. One day, Amos saw Eli examine a tree with great patience. "Master," Amos asked, "why do you spend so much time inspecting? Why not cut the dead branches and harvest the ripe fruit? Why wait?" Eli smiled and replied, "If I find fault before I investigate, I might tear apart what could still flourish. Sometimes what looks dead is merely dormant, and what seems useless is vital for the tree's strength. Patience and careful examination save the harvest." Amos was impatient and often argued, rushing to judgment. Sometimes he would criticize a tree prematurely, cutting branches that seemed dead but were actually vital for the tree's health. The result was fewer fruits, and some trees withered. Eli gently advised him, "Do not answer before you listen, and do not interrupt when others speak. If you jump to conclusions or argue about matters that do not concern you, you risk sowing discord. Better to observe and understand first." One afternoon, Eli gathered Amos for a lesson. "Look around," he said. "Many people rush through life working tirelessly but still in want. Others move slowly, lacking strength, yet the Lord's eyes are on them. He lifts the humble and raises the low. Wealth and poverty, success and failure, they all come from the Lord." Eli pointed to a struggling young tree that had been neglected. "That tree, once abandoned, lacked strength and was almost dead, but the Lord's mercy can restore it. When we trust Him and work diligently, He grants success in His time." He continued, "Some boast, 'I have found rest. I can now enjoy my riches.' But they do not see that time swiftly passes by, and they will leave their wealth to others when they die. It is not riches that last, but a life lived with integrity and faithfulness." Eli warned Amos, "Stand firm in your commitments. Keep your promises and work diligently. Do not wonder at the schemes of the wicked. The Lord is able to turn a poor person into a wealthy one in an instant, and His blessings come quickly for those who serve Him sincerely." Amos listened carefully, but he was still tempted to rush ahead, to chase after wealth and fame. Eli saw this in his eyes and added, "Never say, 'I have enough,' or 'What harm can come to me now?' For prosperity can vanish in a moment. Remember, the true reward is what you carry into eternity, not what you gather in this life." One day, a neighbor named Caleb came to visit. Caleb was known for his quick temper and pride. He boasted about his wealth and accused others of dishonesty. Eli watched as Caleb's passions flared, his speech becoming harsh and haughty. Eli called Caleb aside and warned, "Strong passions, anger, greed, pride destroy those who harbor them. They make you a laughingstock to your enemies, and your reputation suffers. Instead, cultivate gracious words that multiply friends, and be cautious in whom you trust." Later, Eli noticed Amos growing impatient with a fellow worker, accusing him unjustly. "Be slow to find fault," Eli advised. "Examine first, listen more than you speak, and do not argue about things that do not concern you. Many are quick to criticize, but slow to understand." Amos realized that rushing into judgment, like a fire that consumes everything in its path, leads to ruin. He learned that true wisdom involves patience, humility, and careful listening. One evening, a traveler arrived at Eli's farm seeking shelter. Eli welcomed him but warned his family, "Do not invite everyone into your home, for many are crafty and observe your weaknesses. They can turn good into evil and destroy your reputation. Be cautious in whom you trust." The traveler proved untrustworthy, stirring trouble among Eli's family. Yet Eli remained steadfast, trusting that the Lord's justice would prevail. In the end, Eli's orchard thrived not because he hurried or boasted, but because he practiced patience, discernment, and humility. He knew that good things and bad, life and death, come from the Lord, and that His favor sustains those who walk in righteousness. He often said, "The Lord's gift remains with the devout, and His blessing brings lasting success. But beware of the prideful, for they often fall. Instead, trust in the Lord, work faithfully, and He will lift you up in His perfect time. In this parable, we see how envy and selfish ambition often begin with impatience, with our unwillingness to wait on God's timing. Like Amos, we want quick results, immediate success, and we judge others by their outward appearance rather than their true condition. The wise gardener teaches us that true discernment requires patience, careful observation, and humility before God. It means trusting that the Lord sees what we cannot see, the dormant potential, the hidden strength, the true motives of the heart. For our modern lives, that means cultivating the discipline of listening before speaking, observing before judging, and trusting God's sovereignty rather than rushing to secure our own success. It means being cautious about whom we welcome into our inner circles, knowing that not every friendly face has pure intentions. May we learn from the wise gardener to tend the orchard of our hearts with patience and discernment, trusting that the true harvest comes not from our hurried efforts, but from the Lord's perfect timing and grace.